Good morning from Fast Company. Here's our daily look into what's driving today's creative business leaders. We talk about time at work as if it's a fixed resource, something outside of us and something we either manage well or never have enough of. People genuinely believe the clock is the problem, but the more you look at how the brain processes experience, the less true this becomes. People don't feel pressured because they have too many tasks. They feel pressured because their brain is constructing time in a way that makes everything feel urgent or impossible to catch up with. Modern neuroscience has been pointing to this for a while. Our experience of time, what feels fast, slow, overwhelming, or not enough, is not a reading from an internal stopwatch. It's a story our brain builds using prediction, memory, emotional state, and identity. In other words, your brain doesn't observe time, your brain generates it. Or, we can say it another way, the brain predicts time, not measures it. Instead of tracking time objectively, the brain uses patterns and context to estimate how long things take. It relies on memory and sensory information to create a timeline that makes sense. But the problem is that those internal estimates shift dramatically depending on what's happening inside us. When your system is stable and regulated, your internal sense of time widens. You can think clearly, make decisions from the part of your brain built for problem solving, and move through your day without constantly feeling behind. In contrast, when you're stressed or mentally overloaded, the brain speeds everything up. Time contracts and you lose the feeling of agency. Minutes disappear and even simple tasks feel rushed. The external calendar hasn't changed, yet your internal clock has. Stress and emotion distort the experience of time. Under stress, the brain becomes hyper-focused on prediction. What might go wrong? What am I missing? What did I forget? What's next? This pulls attention away from continuous processing and toward threat monitoring, making time feel fragmented and chaotic. Emotion does something similar. When you're anxious, your internal timeline becomes jumpy and inconsistent. On the other hand, when you're burdened by unresolved emotional patterns or past loops, the present feels compressed and the future feels far away. This is exactly why whole months can feel like they passed in a blur, and yet individual days felt strangely heavy or stretched. We experience time not as it is, but as our internal state shapes it. Identity plays a bigger role than people think. Your identity, who you believe you are right now and who you believe you should already be, has a direct impact on your sense of time. When there's a big gap between your current self and the self you think you should have become by now, the brain interprets this as lateness. People living with a strained identity often feel they're constantly running behind, even on days where their workload is reasonable. It creates a quiet pressure underneath everything they do. It is important to acknowledge that this is not laziness or lack of discipline, but a distorted time experience shaped by identity tension. Why two people with the same schedule feel differently. Every leader has seen this but can't always explain it. Two employees with the same deadlines, same workload, and even the same tools, yet one remains steady and the other is overwhelmed. From the outside, they look identical, yet from the inside, they're living in completely different time worlds. One person's nervous system is regulated enough to let their brain track time coherently. The other is in chronic predictive overdrive, experiencing time as something slippery and unforgiving. Attention shapes the texture of time. There's a reason deep work feels slow and spacious, while days full of interruptions vanish in an instant. That's because attention gives the brain enough information to build a rich, continuous timeline. Fragmentation does the opposite. When your attention is scattered, time becomes thin. It loses its structure and feels shorter. This isn't just unpleasant, but it also changes how people remember their workday, how they evaluate their progress, and how capable they feel. When companies unintentionally design days full of micro-interruptions, they are not only lowering productivity, they are altering employees' subjective experience of time. and people make very different decisions when they feel like time is disappearing. What this means for modern work. If time pressure and overwhelm come from internal time distortion rather than external time scarcity, then our conversations about productivity need to shift dramatically. And this doesn't refer to better time management. It is about reducing the internal states that warp how people experience time. Leaders can influence this more than they think by using the following strategies. Number 1, reduce unnecessary chronic stressors to keep time perception from becoming distorted beyond usefulness. Number 2, protect uninterrupted focus windows as the foundation of coherent time experience. Number 3, be intentional with urgency. Constant urgency rewires the brain to live in a compressed and reactive timeline. Number 4, offer clear, grounded futures. A stable sense of where am I going helps people feel anchored instead of feeling constantly behind. The real work is not to fit more tasks into a fixed number of hours, but to help people live in an internal timeline that isn't distorted by stress and identity pressure. Clock time will always move at the same pace, but the time that determines burnout, clarity, performance, and decision-making is the time your brain is constructing from the outside. Understanding that difference changes everything.
That's all today from Fast Company. Talk to you tomorrow.
Spoken Layer.